Hi everyone, welcome to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, July 29th. I'm Sean Duhamel, and I know I do this every week, but it's very hard to believe that today's actually the end of July, or almost the end of July, last Friday in July. Summer is just flying by. Really, these last 6 months have just been an absolute blur with everything we have going on. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you're safe and that your families are safe and that you've been enduring this heat wave that we've had here in Massachusetts for the last week or so. I know it's summer, but 6 or 7 days in a row of it being in the 90s, it's a little bit much for us here in Massachusetts to get used to. I'm more of a fall type of person myself. But with that, let me get into the news of the week. We had a tremendous turnout this past Tuesday for our telephone town hall, our most recent telephone town hall meeting. We, in fact, had over 2,700 members join us for the TeleTown Hall. And remember, there's a couple of different ways that you can engage in these town hall events. One way, the simplest way, is to receive a call from mass retirees at the time of the event. So the day of the event, your phone's going to ring if we have your home telephone number on file. And all you need to do is answer that call, stay on the line, and you're automatically going to connect to the TeleTown Hall. And I know we always get some phone calls from members after the fact who happen to have missed the call or didn't pick it up and wondering what was going on. Well, the other way you can connect to these TeleTown Halls is by calling our toll-free number. And that number is published in the July newsletter that you would have received back in June. It's also published in the newsletter that you're going to receive over the coming week. Now, we went to press 2 weeks early this year, with our September newsletter. And the reason for that is very simple. The September 1st primary here in Massachusetts is right around the corner. And we want to make sure that our members have all of the information that you need in order to participate in the election and make informed choices in terms of who you want to support. So we have a number of endorsements in the newsletter of folks who are supporters of mass retirees, who are staunch advocates for the issues that are important to our members, but also these individuals are running in contested primaries. So if you don't see the name of your local legislator, the reason most likely is that they don't have an opponent in the primary. And we're going to go through this process again in the general election, and we'll be talking about it in the coming weeks. But even more importantly is, because of COVID-19, the election process, the voting process is changing for this year, and it has to adapt because of what's going on. And we want to make sure that people can participate in the election and are going to be safe in doing so. So here in Massachusetts, the governor and the legislature worked together to change state law to allow you to be able to vote 3 different ways. One is to be able to vote in person like you always traditionally have. That would either be going to the polling place on September 1st or participating in early voting the last 2 weeks of August. The other way that you can vote is by doing a mail-in ballot. Now, over the last week to 10 days, you should have received, if you are a registered Massachusetts voter, you should have received an application to apply for a mail-in ballot. I know in my household, my wife and I have applied for the mail-in ballot for both the primary as well as the general election. We just don't feel comfortable going to the polling place, and quite honestly, it's even easier to vote, put it in the mail, then you don't have to worry about it again. Who knows over the next month or so what the situation is going to be. So we just wanted to make it as easy as possible for us to participate in this election. So those are the ways that you can vote, and all that information is contained in the September newsletter. Now, ballots, mail-in ballots, are going to start to be sent to people as early as the first week of August. So you're going to be able to vote pretty soon. So we want to get this information to you. Now, as I started to say earlier, and I got ahead of myself, this week we had a tremendous telephone town hall on Tuesday. Over 2,700 members participated. Our special guest this week was State Representative Aaron Michlewitz. He is the state rep from the North End here in Boston, represents the North End and a good chunk of downtown Boston, right in the heart of the business district and all of the restaurants and the tourism and all the things that are normally going on. So Representative Michlewitz's district is definitely been impacted by the economic turmoil that has come about because of COVID-19. Now, most importantly for us, Beyond the fact that Aaron is a very good friend and a staunch supporter of public retirees, he's the former chairman of the Public Service Committee dealing with all sorts of retirement legislation, but now he is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, which of course is in charge of writing the state budget. So he has his hands in every single issue imaginable under the sun. He has a tremendous amount of responsibility, and he took time out of his very busy schedule this week to spend about 30 minutes with our members, updating us on what's happening with the budget, what the legislature, how the legislature has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic, talked about a number of other issues and bills that are now before the House, including a giant economic development bill that was passed this week, and answered several of our questions. Now, as you probably know by now, the state budget has been delayed because of COVID-19. And the state has been getting by on what's known as 1/12 budget, so a budget that only applies to 1 month. Now this week, an agreement was reached between the governor and the House and the Senate leadership to pass a 3-month budget carrying the state as well as the cities and towns through October. And the anticipation is that the legislature this fall, once more is known about the economic impact of what's been going on, as well as getting into the fall and understanding more of how we're going to be able to respond and get this virus under control. Because until we get it under control, our problems are going to continue and things just aren't going to get back to normal. That's unfortunately the reality of the situation. So that will get us into the fall. Now, you might be asking, well, how does this impact me? What's this have to do with my pension? Well, it has a lot to do with everything that we're working on. First and foremost, if you are a retired state employee or a retired teacher, your cost of living adjustment is delayed this year because of the delay in the budget. The language approving the COLA as well as the pension appropriation from the state are part of the state budget. Those issues are going to be delayed until the larger full budget is passed this fall. Now, we fully anticipate that the COLA will be paid, and most likely it would be retroactive to July 1st. And that's something that our legislative team is working on. On the call on Tuesday, our legislative chairman, Tom Bonarigo, respectfully asked Chairman Michlewitz to make every effort to get the COLA done this year and make it retroactive. Because we know, and as well as Chairman Michlewitz knows, that our members really depend on this. So we made it a very strong point. The other big thing going on is that we're trying to continue to advocate for the passage of various bills that we're working on, whether it's veterans bonuses, Option C recalculation, life insurance increases, or the issue that we've been talking about over the past few weeks with the senior COLA enhancement. All of those issues are still in the mix and are things that we want to get done on your behalf because they're important. But until a budget is passed and until we have a better handle on the economic impact here in Massachusetts, it's going to be very difficult to do some of these things. And we're going to be playing a lot of defense going forward to make sure that different organizations do not use this crisis as an excuse to try to cut your benefits. Because we've seen that story in the past. We've seen how some organizations like the Mass Fiscal Alliance try to use events like this as an excuse to go after your benefits. And we're not going to stand by and allow them to do that. And so that's also part of our job right now, is to play defense on your behalf just as much as we're playing offense. So let me close by saying this. Again, you're going to get your newsletter from us over the coming week. You're going to see in the newsletter that we have several telephone town halls now scheduled for August and into early September. Now, the next 2 telephone town halls are going to be held on August 10th with Secretary of State Bill Galvin to talk about the September election and the changes that have taken place and to answer your questions about the election. The second August telephone town hall will take place on August 19th. That telephone town hall will be focused on telemedicine and telehealth, and our friends from the IBIS program will be on the town hall with us to talk about their program and answer your questions. Then into September, we're going to hold our annual association meeting, which is typically the first Friday in September. We usually hold it at Lantana's in Randolph. Well, obviously, and sadly, we can't do that this year. So we've rescheduled that meeting for later in September It will be a virtual meeting, and the information about that meeting is contained in your newsletter, and we'll have some updates for you on that specific meeting as we get a little bit closer to that September date. But with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for your continued support of our association. Stay safe and stay cool. It's summer, but it's hot. Thank you so much.